What up, what up, what up, everybody? It's your man, Dame DNYDC, host of the Two Mics Up podcast. Nothing wrong with your screen. Today, our lovely co host, the Queen, Lisa Middleton, she's not able to join us today, but we still going to rock and do what we do here on our platform, educating, empowering, impacting our community positively. And today's guest is special to me. I can't wait to bring our guest out and introduce, you know, her to you and our audience. Uh, what I guess is doing is really amazing, in my opinion. And I've had the pleasure of working with her and joining her. But I'm going to get to that in a moment. But before I do, first of all, I hope you all had a safe and happy 4th of July. Pandemic curfews and limits and all of these restrictions are going away. So I hope we're all still remaining safe in what we do with these new or the removal of limitations. But just remember to be safe. This new variant is out here, and you still got to be mindful of that. Secondly, before I introduce, I guess, as always, here on Two Mics Up, we're always big on supporting small sponsors or small businesses, excuse me. And I want to take a minute to highlight two of our sponsors, Next Level Keys and Riddick Entertainment. Next Level Keys is a full service credit card repair firm that renders optimum services to their customers in all facets and walks of life. It could be qualifying for a mortgage, getting that new car, or getting funds for your business. Contact my man Quan at support at nextlevelkeys.com. He's really doing big things out here in the DMV area. And Riddick Entertainment, what can I say? Riddick Entertainment is a multifaceted event management firm based right here in Northern Virginia. Riddick Entertainment's detailed creativity and precision event planning will give you a truly meaningful and memorable experience. Contact our friends at Riddick Entertainment at info at riddickent.com. I got a mouthful going on today, ladies and gentlemen. Forgive me. And one last thing before we go and get into today's show. You know, in September 11th and 12th, you can catch Two Mics Up. Lisa and I will be hosting and emceeing the Virginia Black Business Expo. Our friends over at the VABBD. This is their second annual expo at the Fredericksburg Expo Center. You can get more information at vablackbusinessdirectory.com. Come on out, man. It's going to be fun. We're going to have, 150 vendors. There's going to be shopping, entertainment, and Lisa and we're going to be out there emceeing and just really having a good time. So come on and hang out with us. And if you're a small business, check it out. Definitely want to get yourself out there and involved in the community. So as I was saying, today's guest, I'm going to go ahead and bring this wonderful woman into the studio today. And as you can see, Rahbin Shyne is here today joining us. And, Robin, I'm just going to be quiet for a minute. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to our amazing audience.
All right. Well, my name is Rahbin Shyne. My mama didn't spell it like that. I spell it Rahbin, but that was a pen name. I was writing some books on compassion. And long story short is the pen name just really resonated with me. And so I changed legally. So now I'm Rahbin Shyne. And let's see. Basically, I'm an educator. Like that's my day gig. That's my love. It's not a job for me, but it is what I do during the day and have fun with some teenagers. I teach government, economics, and law. And I have a love of government and politics and all of that. I did that whole undergrad thing, got a law degree from UCLA, and that has just kind of stayed with me in terms of my interests. And the other thing I love to do is I love a challenge. And so I'm in the middle of doing 100 half marathons. I walk them, I don't run, but I do walk them and I finish. And, I did like 365 doodles. I just had some of my art displayed at a friend's house.
Wow.
And that was really cool.
That's
and then
awesome.
and so the next thing I was doing these different things, you can tell us by the numbers, 100 halves, 365 poems, and 365 doodles. And the next iteration was what has me be here with you today is the 365 Brothers podcast, which is a joy.
Well, look, I would have to agree. Well, first of all, I didn't know some of those things, so wow, that's awesome, and congratulations, on the artwork and everything. That's amazing. We'll probably have to bring you back. If you're doing that, come back and share some of your pieces of work, man. I mean, that's awesome. Didn't know that.
Uh,
And like you said, 365 Brothers podcast. I was uh, now it's with it being July, I guess I had the pleasure of joining you. I think that was what, January or
it was
December or January.
January, I
Yeah.
remember. Yes.
Yes. So I'm glad to be able to return the favor and have you come on, because that that podcast, or your podcast, is really important to me, and I think what we don't see a lot of in our community about uplifting the men of color. But before I get to that,
Hmm.
what is it that inspires you on a daily basis? Because I know you like challenges, but what else is it that it inspires you, and did any of that inspiration lead to the creation of the 365 Brothers podcast?
Yeah. When I was in my 20s, and I'm in my 50s now, I don't have any problems owning that and sharing that. And so in my 20s, I did this. There's this book called What Color is Your Parachute? And it had
Mm,
all these exercises to figure out what it is that you want to do with your life and what would be the perfect occupation. And for me, it's empowering others. And I get that that can sound cheesy or cliche, but like, it really is what inspires me. It's what inspires me as an educator. It's what has me take on the podcast. And even like when I was talking about my poems and my doodles, like they started as just something that I would post every day
mm,
and invite others to do that. And so I found that there were friends who started posting their art, friends who started posting their poems. And it's really just about, you know, honestly, you know what it is?
what's that?
I love to shine, and I love to have other people shine too, and that's
Hey.
that's what makes my day all day.
Man, that's awesome, and you can see that. I mean, like I said, I've had the pleasure. I can see that. I can feel that just in the way you speak, your smile. I mean, the shine is shining through, and it's amazing. And in your podcast, um, I find that it shines all the way through, just with the different stories that are being told. And before we even get into those different stories, really, could you explain to our listeners? I want to allow you to really tell us what 365 Brothers podcast
Oh,
is really all
sure.
about.
Absolutely. Um, so like the world, um, back on late May, when the video of George Floyd's murder um, was broadcast, available on the internet, there had been so many stories, and honestly, I did not want to watch it because
Mm,
I felt like I'd seen enough.
right.
Um, but when I saw the police stations burning, when I saw people around the globe, like, well, it's before it went worldwide, but when there were protests in multiple cities here in the US, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it. And when I did, all that I was left with was that this officer did not see the
Mm,
humanity of
yes.
George Floyd. His humanity was not, you could see his eyes was, I don't know what he thought he was looking at, but for him, the officer, he was not looking at a man.
Correct.
And I felt that there were not an, that it wouldn't hurt to add one more platform where we share the stories of Black men. And one of, I asked the brothers the same 11 questions. I mean, I tweak them a little bit from season to season, but it's the basic same 11 questions. And one of them is about their interactions with law enforcement,
Yes.
because it's not just about those tragedies that we hear about and they make the news and everyone goes out and marches on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Brothers are not being seen.
Yes.
And I and I have to be honest with you and say, because I could make it sound like, and then I just wanted to make a difference, because the real
Right.
true story is I
Right.
woke up and I wanted to make a difference, and literally 365 brothers was like, I woke up in the morning and it was at the top corner of my room. And I
Wow.
saw and I was like, oh, a podcast. That would be a
Hmm.
great idea. Somebody should do that.
Why
And I
not?
went about my day. Next morning,
Hmm.
still there. And I still think it's a good idea for somebody.
Yep.
Third morning, I woke up and I was like, oh, so you mean me? Oh,
Me.
you mean
Right.
me?
Tag, you're it. Tag, you're it. Exactly.
Right. And
Hmm.
so I said, you know what? I trust that if what's right there is not leaving me, I own it. I'll
That's
own
right.
it, and I haven't looked back. So that idea came to me early June, and our first episode was in July, and we start our third season Monday,
Wow.
July 5th.
Wow. Well, kudos to you. And I implore, I'm asking our listeners to take a moment, to head over to Robin's podcast and listen to the 365 Brothers podcast. It's amazing. I not only because I've been a part of it, but I've sat and I've listened. We have a lot of brothers out here from different backgrounds. Uh, di- we're so diverse. It's amazing. And although the questions, yes, and you're right. I know you do the same 11 questions and you tweak them, but to hear the stories from
Hmm.
men of color and the things that they've gone through and the things that we like, the things that we love. I think it's important because it doesn't get celebrated enough in our community, and I'm so happy. I know through the darkest of times, sometimes good things do come. Same thing for us here on this
Yes.
platform. George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all of these things were going on, and that's what prompted us to do the same. But I wish you all success in everything that you do because it's an amazing platform, and I just can't wait to see where you go and what you continue to do with it. So, with that being said, I
Hmm.
have to ask you. I know as a podcaster, and this as a human being, really,
Yeah.
some days we're just not. Man, look, I'm not motivated. I don't feel like doing this today. What is it that gets you up and gets your juices flowing? And keeps you going to do what you do every day.
You know what? I thought about that. And so there is one area of my life where um, I'm so challenged. And as much as I love walking half marathons, and I do, like I live for that. I'm not a morning person, but I happily get up at 5 on a Sunday morning to walk 13.1 miles, no problem.
Ooh.
But the in between, like staying in shape, like keeping the walking going, I like anybody else. Tomorrow,
Yep.
right?
Right.
And so, the worst thing was when I figured out that I could finish it, even if I didn't do what I know I ought to do.
Right.
And so, honestly, what keeps me going is integrity. Like,
Mm.
that's the thing for me. I was participating in some self development programs, the foundation of which was like I spent 12 years basically in conversations about integrity, so much so that it like I'm used by it. Now,
Mhm.
I don't want anyone to get the impression that everything in my life is in order.
Right.
Um, I got some dishes on the counter right now, but real talk.
All right. Now, don't
But
we all? Shoot.
right,
Mhm.
but what motivates me is when I say 365, it's 365. And so when like the practice for the podcast really, and I didn't even know where this was going, but
Mhm.
even like doing a doodle a day, it's like it's 10 o'clock, I'm tired, but I said one a day.
One a day.
So
Right.
if it's going to be a squiggle, it's going to be a squiggle, but I'm going to be my word on that. And so that's what has me, that is my motivator. It's,
Mm.
it's, it's why I do everything by numbers, 100 this, 365 that, because that's what I can stick to. And it's almost like I'm hyper competitive with
Somewhat.
myself, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
I said 100. Watch, I'm gonna get to 100. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do
And
it.
I find I relate to that. And I don't know. Maybe it depends on signs or where people. Because as a Taurus, we're very competitive,
Hmm.
and I find myself even within a challenge. There's a challenge.
Yep.
Like okay, so I'm gonna do that today. But you know what? I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that too, and I'm gonna go ahead and get that done too. And it is, and you speak on integrity. Like is that something that you find or maybe you see? Because I feel sometimes that piece of our fabric is really eroding away, where people just don't have that. Like and like I said, you and I we come from the same generation, but I find sometimes like where is or where's the integrity of what people are doing? Do you find it the same?
Let me tell you something. The reason, and I'll just name the program, I'm not pumping it up. I'm just saying, for me, it was landmark worldwide.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. I had to learn integrity. Like I didn't even know
Mm.
how out of integrity it was. That's why I was kept doing courses over and over again till I could get it. It's
Wow.
actually why I give myself these challenges, because
Oh.
they make me, they force me to stay consistent with my word. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the kind of person I am, left to my own devices. Oh, I said I was going to go to her thing. I don't even feel
Yeah,
like
you're like going. Yeah, yeah, I
you
know
know,
that.
and let me see, what could I say?
Mhm.
Um, maybe somebody in the family have an emergency. Anybody got
Right,
an emergency?
right. Anybody not feeling good? Somebody hungry. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so for me, integrity is like a practice, because I'm just like every other person out there, left to my own devices. I'm not going to follow through. And I
Hmm.
think if there's any difference, it's just that I know and own that on my own, I'm just as
Yeah.
big a flake as anybody else.
Yeah, yeah, and I get that. We all have our days, but I do find
Mhm.
that those many challenges and those many uh, competitions with yourself does
Yes.
uh, make things easier. And I only share that because as a child, um, I was always told to do the things that you find the hardest. You do those first, because
Mhm.
once you learn how to uh, once you're challenged and capable and willing to overcome those things that are hard, everything else in life becomes easier.
Yeah.
And when I was young, I hated that. And I'm like, man, I don't feel like doing this. Shit. But now I find myself, and I even tell my daughter, look, that thing that you struggling with, do that first.
Mhm.
And then you'll be amazed how much free time you have afterward, because everything else is just so easy. You can do it in your sleep.
That's
You,
right.
you know,
That's
so
right.
I find, that piece of our fabric is gone, but I'm glad that you're able
Yeah.
to share that with us. Um, so I want to real quick ask, you know, how would you say you use your platform, as the host of 365 Brothers podcast to, help improve our culture? You know, how do you see that? Because I know in a way how I see it, but I want to, how do you see that? You using your platform in that manner.
So so there are probably three things that really are important to me. The first is literally just to listen to brothers
Mm.
and to encourage people to hear brothers and
Hmm.
allow brothers the space to just talk
Mm. That's big. That's
and
big.
be,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so that's one. The second thing is, with 365 brothers, my hope and my goal, my intention is to interview brothers from a variety of professions. And I'd really like it to be like a place that over time just comes to be known as, what, I've been thinking about getting in real estate. I don't know any brothers in real estate, because maybe this is a teenager, maybe it's someone in college, and they're like,
Right.
what, I heard there's this show, 365 Brothers. Let me see who was on there that was someone in real estate. I want to hear how they
Hmm.
did it, because
Right.
one of my questions is about accomplishments. And so I asked these brothers, and every brother gets a chance to talk about their field to a certain degree.
Yep.
I'm doing a better job at making sure I give them an opportunity to spotlight their careers now.
Hmm.
It's evolving, right?
Right.
But I would love it to be like a repository
Mm.
of Black men in different professions over time. And like I had a brother on who is a composer. He composed all the music for Coming to America too. And
Wow. Really?
right, like, and
Wow.
we don't think about brothers who
Wow.
are in composing, right?
No, not at all. That's awesome.
Right. And
Wow.
so that's my vision, is that I really am able, and I reach out to professional organizations. So if anyone's listening, you're part of a profession that, brothers are not highly represented in, like, reach out to me. I want to share you
Right.
with the listener. So that's the second. So the first is just the conversation itself. The second is a repository. And the third is like my big vision dream. Like, um, my dream is that people start asking each other these questions. Like, if I want to get all wild and out there with it, I would say, wouldn't it be great if in 2023 people are like, "Oh, have you done a 365? Anybody asked you
Right.
your 365 questions?" And
Right.
it's just a conversation where you get to know people that are in your life in ways you didn't know before. I found out, I'll tell you something. I interviewed my uncle. So in
Mm.
the first season, it was a lot more family and friends, right?
Right.
And I did not know that he had lunch with Martin Luther King Jr. when he was
Oh
in
wow.
college.
What?
Hey, hey,
What?
thank you. No one
What?
told me. But
Wow.
wait, but wait, there's more. I also found out that my father, who I mostly knew him as an adult because him and my mom divorced when I was young,
Hmm.
we would hang out, and he never mentioned this to me, and he's passed away a couple, about 20 years now. Well, check this out. My uncle tells me, yeah, I remember when your dad brought Malcolm X down to Long Beach to talk
What?
to. Thank you. Yes.
What?
Hello.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
didn't know any of this. And I share that. And I do like I do like sharing
Right.
my
And look here,
dad, you
I'm
know.
not mad at that. Look here, I'm with you. Let me go ahead and get in on that story. What? What happened? You? Well, tell me
Right.
more for real. What?
But here's the thing, as when that happened, and like even a cousin of mine who I asked him about something, and he was sharing with me how he loves going to Mexico. I didn't know he loved going to Mexico.
Wow.
That the people in Mexico are like all this for him. I was like, what? I didn't know. So my thing is, what I would love people to do is, even if you don't ask these 11 questions, start asking the people in your life questions that you don't
Yes.
ask.
Yes.
Get to know them because they got all this richness inside,
Yes.
and we don't get to know it.
Man, look, I'm with you 200%. That's why, like I said, I'm a big fan. I love listening and hearing the diversity of us. And I've said it here on our platform, we are divine creatures by creation. And these things ought to be shared amongst each other and talked about so that we get a better understanding of who we are and our history and stop allowing this mind control and this government force feed
Mm.
who we are or what we should be thinking we are and how we look. And I
Resist
couldn't
the algorithm, people.
say,
Resist the
you
algorithm.
see, and that's how you and I we here, and I mean and we get on our soapbox on that here. So you trust me, I'm with you on that one. So
Yeah,
before we get into the next segment, I want to take a pause for the cause,
sure.
and I want to go ahead and introduce a couple of more of our show sponsors. As always, here on Two Mics Up, we're all about supporting small businesses. You know, two of our sponsors, TD3 Insurance and Regina Leggett, our Legal Shield Independent Associate. You know, TD3 Insurance protects and covers all your insurance needs from home, auto, renters, motorcycles, commercial, specialty, and life. TD3 is licensed in the DMV, North Carolina, and New York, and just opened a brand new office at 3985 Prince William Parkway, Suite 206, right in Woodbridge, Virginia. Regina Leggett, you know, if you're worrying about legal problems or you need legal representation or advice, the days of not being able to afford an attorney are long gone. You know, make sure you get the justice that you need and deserve. Contact our sister Regina Leggett at reginaleggett.wearelegalshield.com. Coming back, you know, if you guys are just tuning in, I'm here with an amazing sister. Uh, my sister Rahbin Shyne, you know, of Brothers 365 podcast. We're having a great conversation, and I want to continue on and just kind of change lanes for a minute with you,
Sure.
Robin, if we can, because I know you're in the government and you know, like I say, you're in the politics and things like that. So, kind of talk to us about, you know, what is like, how do you feel about this current administration and the job that they've done to date?
Okay, so here's where I must confess to you that after 4 years of being like this on the news,
Yeah.
I haven't been on it like I used to. In fact, I
Okay.
just have to share this real quick. I vividly recall the first press conference from Biden's press secretary, and she was taking questions, and she was saying stuff like, "I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure."
Mhm,
Uh-huh.
mhm,
And then
mhm.
I mean, it was like, this is boring. Oh
Right.
my God, yay! So, in terms of how they're doing, so, you know,
Mhm.
okay, so first of all, I love putting on the board the list of all the presidents for, like 15 presidents in a row. and
Mm-hmm.
then slowly going through their political party so that the students can see we just switching back and forth between teams.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so they are doing exactly what is counter to the narrative that the Republicans were putting out.
Agreed.
And they are doing all of the usual, programs. And I I support what they're up to.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to really answer how are they doing. And the reason for that is so broken right now
Mm.
because parties are more concerned about maintaining power than they are about governing.
Yeah.
The kinds of compromises that we saw 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that would actually impact change, it's just so difficult. So now
Mm.
what gets passed are the mildest versions of the easiest conversations, the
Yes.
easiest legislation. So how are they doing? Well, for having a Senate that doesn't go along with them, they're getting through some things. What could they do differently? Honestly, I'm kind of you caught me in a very resigned
Mm.
year
Mm-hmm. No, I understand.
because I find that right now the Republicans are more interested, and I you can read into my politics if you want to, but all I'm saying is that there is no incentive to really go after what the vast majority of Americans want. The
Agreed.
vast majority of Americans are moderate,
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
and we can come into agreement on a lot of programs.
Mm-hmm.
But to get elected, you need the
Bill.
fringes to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
so they are dominating what happens. And so, how are they doing? I think they're doing the best they can for the circumstances. Um, I do think that, honestly, I think there could be more work done. I mean, I'm not in politics, so it's easy for me to say, but I think there could be more pressure. I just can't believe that we can't get anything done. There's got to
Well,
be some place to apply
and
pressure.
and that's really why I asked, because for some of us, we, here being in the DMV, being a little closer to it, so it's kind of in our face a lot. And just with the whole Juneteenth, you know, I, I don't, I just don't want to. And again, I don't want to knock it, right? But it's not the legislation that I was looking for.
Exactly.
With all the other things going on, anti-hate crime bills, and everything, there's everything going on with the black community that could have been
Hmm.
done. To
Hmm.
me, it just felt like, okay, like what we always get is like, okay, well, here's this crumb. Let me go ahead and sweep this crumb off the side of the table. Oh, y'all go ahead. Y'all can have that. You're
Hmm.
good. And I just, I'm
For
looking for more.
for me, it's even worse than that.
Okay.
It's for me, again, you caught me in a cynical place.
Mm-hmm.
But when all those Republicans sign up, you should ask yourself, why was there so much alignment? Why were the Republicans all behind
Mm-hmm.
Juneteenth?
Right.
Because then it's like, well, we've acknowledged it, haven't we?
Right.
So
Right.
we can move on, right? This is a
Yeah.
national acknowledgement. You've wanted acknowledgement. We're done.
Right.
Yes.
And and it's true that you say that, because I mean that's one thing that I've said, in talking here on the show. If even with everything that's going on, the history of this country, the way it was built, the way it's been run, the inequality, the injustices, and everything, if they would just come out and just give one sincere apology, because we're not saying that that swath of humanity that lives today, that's Caucasian, we're not saying that it's your fault directly. We just want
No.
you to recognize your ancestors' role and what they've created and what's being done to us. And if you would just acknowledge that in a whole, honestly, you know what? A lot of this would go away in the sense that, okay, at least now we're being recognized. That's the olive branch I think that most of us want to hear. I know I do, because then now
Mhm.
I can look at you eye to eye and say, you know what? Now maybe we can have serious conversation.
Exactly.
But a lot of times, like I say, it's like, yeah, here you go, brush it off. Okay, wait, what are you talking about? Well, we gave you what you wanted, and it's like a double-handed.
You're never satisfied.
Right, right. That okay. And so I just wanted to know from your point of view,
Mhm.
with that, and while we're speaking about that, and I mentioned the inequalities and the injustices that go on, I just want to ask, what do you think? What is it that we can do as a community, to fight against these inequalities and injustices that are going on across the board?
We're gonna have to learn. We're
Mm,
gonna have to study. Because
mm,
here's the thing. I know some people were offended
mm,
by, I saw it, there was some national attention given to a series of, go out and vote ads with some strippers from Atlanta. Okay. Now, I don't think it has to take strippers to get people involved. But you know what I liked about
mm.
that ad?
Right.
They broke down how your voting for these local elections impacts your local day-to-day life.
Yes.
And, I'll be honest with you, even I who studied the law and teach government, I don't every election go through and look and see all the judges, what were their takes, what was their but more so now.
Hmm. I agree.
Now
Right.
I'm reading it. But
Hmm.
I'm be honest with you, even with all my training, I was not taken, I was up on the propositions. Let me tell you something. I know
Right.
the propositions, I know the pros and the cons, but when it came to those local elections, I was as bad as anybody else. There's a
Hmm.
name for it. I'm gonna give you a new term,
Okay.
ballot fatigue. And so
Ah.
what happens is you start at the top and you got president, you got
Hmm.
Congress, you got your propositions, and
Right.
by the time you did all that, you like,
Phew.
you don't stretch my brain.
And it's true.
Right?
It is
And so by
true.
the time you get to the bottom where you're picking your sheriff, you're picking your commissioners, you're
Hmm.
picking the people whose choices are going to impact the education of your child, where
Yes.
your child goes to school, what's in
Yes.
those schools. That's
Hmm.
personal to me. But
Right.
also, who's in charge of your police department? Who's overseeing the police
Yep.
department?
Yep.
All those choices, we're just kind of like, I don't even know, man.
Right. And you speak on that too, because I mean, I try to get people to understand. I think I like what you're saying, because we always start at the top and not the bottom, and really the bottom is the most important part because it's your local community. These are the jailers, and and the people who are writing the laws for the sheriff to come out and continue to be, those slave catchers, if just to use the phrase,
I get you.
that impacts you more than that guy sitting up there on Pennsylvania Avenue. He's don't know nothing about what's going on over here and where I live or where you live. That's the
Hmm.
furthest thing from his mind. And I
Yeah.
think we have to, like I said, I like what you said about the education. I think we have to do some reverse educating,
Hmm.
and instead of looking at the top,
Yes.
so look at the bottom, because the top is going to be in your face when you
The
really
top
look
is
at it.
going to be in your face. And
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, in aggregate, it's really just, I live in California.
Mm-hmm.
And in California, it's going to go blue.
Mm.
Let
Mm-hmm.
me just, because since I'm a government teacher, I can't help myself. Look, there's only 8 states in any given election
Yeah.
that are really going to maybe flip red or blue.
Right.
The other states, 40 something states, every presidential election, they gonna go red.
Blue.
Montana is not gonna accidentally vote for the Democrat anytime soon, not
Right.
in the next 20 years. And
Right.
California, I don't care how much money we get over here, we're not sending our 55 electoral votes to the Republican candidate
Right.
anytime soon.
Mm.
So
That's right.
then why we spend all that time? Oh well, what he say? What she say?
Right.
What he
Right.
say? What she
Right.
say? I mean, it's not to say ignore it. I'm just saying we got to go where they go. In fact, I'm going to leave with this.
Mm-hmm.
So, on this question, so I had the privilege of having a gentleman who works with a local politician. And he does kind of organizing stuff like he's like one of those background. He's not a lobbyist, but he works on policy,
Policies.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I asked him the question about we got into talking about, how Black, the same question you're asking me. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, we need to go on those commissions, those
Yeah.
committees, the
Yep.
ones that are like, and I thought about it. And as we were talking, I was like, I love to walk. So I'm walking up and down these streets. If they I don't even know if we have a commission on traffic control
Mm.
in my local area, but if they did, that's something I'm authentically interested in.
Mm-hmm.
But as a group, generally speaking, as African Americans, we don't pay attention to those little committees,
Yes.
but they are the ones
Mm.
making those calls.
Yes. That is so true. And that boy, I hope y'all are listening. Get some enlightenment here, get some education because it's really true. And this is why I'm glad to have you on. You know, it's so reminiscent of what we talk about here and what we've talked about. Just really trying to, like I said, try to educate people on uh, not even people, our community,
Yeah.
to do better or change how we think so that we can make change for better in our community. So thank you for sharing that.
Well,
Um,
and I just want to take this moment. I mean, throughout, I'm so grateful to be here, right? But
mhm.
I also want to acknowledge you for what you're doing, because one of the things we know in education is you can't just tell someone once and then
Right.
they got it, right? And so all these different podcasts, all the different guests you bring, it's like over time, if you heard what I said today and then you don't do anything, that's fine, because you're going to hear somebody else say it and then you're going to
Right.
hear it on another podcast. And all of
Right.
a sudden, one day you're going to be like, do we have a commission on water?
Right.
Because I,
Right. Somewhere, somehow, it just goes off like a light in your head, or you hear somebody say something that'll reference it, and
hmm
you're 100% right. And I think that's what it's really all about. And that's really if it's one person,
hmm
if it's one person that walks
right.
away catching a message to really want to do something.
Yeah.
And when I say, do something, here we always say, education comes in different forms. Look, I'm learning
hmm
something new. This conversation, you always can learn something. So you're being educated. And really, what you do with that education, hopefully it empowers you and gives you that energy and that motivation and that strength to say, you know what, I want to learn more. And by learning more, it makes you want to do more. And hopefully, by doing more, you do something positively to impact our community. And that's what we're all about. I think that's what, 365 Brothers podcast is all about. Like I said, you've got some amazing guys. Man, I can go on and on and on about it. It's hot to death, and I love it.
Thank
What you're
you.
doing. So I thank you for taking time to do that and share your stories with us today. And while we're still talking,
hmm
so Robin, if you could do one thing, and I'm gonna give you the magic wand,
hmm
and you could do one thing to improve Black America, what would it be?
If I had a magic wand, I would create three. Look, it's going to sound like I just got it all planned out, but I would create 3 10-week courses on finance and everything related. You
Hmm,
would take it in 12th grade, and it
okay.
would be budgeting, basics on credit, school, like funding school, make it 11th grade so they'd be ready for when they go off to college. So
Hmm.
that would be your first, that'd be the first 10-week course, but it would be mandatory. That's
Okay.
the magic part. It would be
Okay.
mandatory. Then you take another 10-week finance course when you turn 25. And
Hmm.
that one starts talking about investing. Not that you shouldn't start at
Hmm.
18 if you can, but real talk, a lot of times it's going to be, in your 20s when you feel like you got an extra $20 you can put away every week, or 50 or whatever.
Right.
So another one on investment opportunities. And then finally, one more 10-week class, mandatory, in your 30s, when you are either just bought a home, buying a home, but it's going to get you set up so that you actually start thinking about retirement.
Mm.
Because one of the that income gap between black and white,
Hmm.
that accounts for a lot of the other gaps.
Yes. Yes, it
I'm not
does.
saying money is the answer, because it's not. You can do a lot with that. I learned how to do a podcast with YouTube, and that was free,
Right. Right.
right? It
Hmm.
doesn't, but I don't know about you, Damon, but I know that it's a lot easier for me to study and learn something new when my
Hmm.
belly is fed, I got a full night's sleep, and
Amen.
I didn't work 3 jobs.
Amen. I look.
And we got to get there. We got to get to a place where we, you know, are able to live off of our income and
Hmm.
not throwing it away the way. And hear this, we can say like they just trying to take black community money. No, they trying to fleece all America.
Right. Right. That's facts right there. That's a big facts right there.
They fleecing everybody. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I cracked up on, and I know I can talk a little long, but I just have to say, I went to, I'm, you know how now everywhere you go to buy your food, they ask you for a tip.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, so wait a second. I'm paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm helping fund programs for people who don't make enough money, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine with. I'm not one of these people. I'm tired of paying. I'm happy to pay my share. I'm glad I make money. Okay.
Right. Right.
But then on top of that, now I got to support the business, not paying them either. So
Uh-huh.
I got to pay twice.
You're paying twice. Yep. Mm-hmm. Makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Makes
So
no sense.
anyway.
Nah, you're right. I agree. Look, that's why I'm just sitting here. I'm sitting back because usually that's my soapbox. So I'm go right ahead. Go ahead. Because I'm with you. It makes no sense whatsoever. And shoot, I'm not going to talk about taxes.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you because I can in my mind I'm not gonna really do this, but I was so kind of incensed by this idea of paying in all these different ways. I was like, next time on tip, I'm gonna write unionize.
Right. Just go ahead. Look, here, girl. Get this to somebody. Y'all need to do
Right.
this. I don't want to cause no problems for you in the workplace, but get that to somebody. And
Hmm.
you're right. And to go back to your points that you those 3 points that you broke down and the way that you broke, I think that's ideal because it really is in tune with a lot of times where most of us are at those points in our life. And when I look back and listening to what you were saying, man, I could have used some of that coming out of high school, uh,
Hmm.
turning 25, just really kind of being a fresh graduate from college,
Yeah.
not knowing what the hell I was doing and what I was supposed to be doing with my money and, becoming a homeowner. And I think that's great. And I would love, and I don't know, I'm gonna put that up there for you to see up in the corner, Robin.
Oh yeah, I
You're
see it.
right. You see it, okay? Because
I see it.
you, I'm not saying you, but you need
I
to
got
work
it.
on because that would be an awesome program. Um, Not only just where you are in California, but I can see this across the country. Something that all our kids really could use and need, and I find that to be an awesome project. I'm going to leave that project for Robin to.
Well, I got a friend. We win our games. We'll come up with something we think should exist, and we take credit when it manifests in the world, even if we
Okay,
didn't do it.
okay,
So, and I want to let you know this, Damon. That answer came because of the question you asked. So
wow.
it was a co-creation between you and I.
Well, look here. Anybody watching this here, I'm gonna be watching now. If this program takes place, I'm calling you, Robin. We're gonna get our piece of the pie because
Hey, hey.
that was awesome, and really was. And now that coming to the end of today's
Hmm.
great episode, and I just love your energy, love talking to you. I have to ask there's gonna an off the wall question, lighten it
Okay.
up a little bit.
Okay.
So usually let's go with this one. So if you were, you like movies, right? You like going to the
I
movie theater.
love
Okay,
movies.
good, good. So let's go with this one. So
Okay.
which movie title best explains your life and why?
Now I know how my guests feel because I have a similar question, and they be like,
Hey,
and they always like, I
got you,
got two. I got
got
two.
you, got you. Yep.
All right, all right. Ooh, yeah, this is hard. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go with Inception.
Oh, okay. Okay. That was an awesome movie. Now I don't know if
Yeah.
a lot of people have seen that or not, and if you haven't, I'm going to pause for a minute. I'm going to tell you how to go watch it, and because I'm going to ask why. Because I seen the movie, I thought it was a great movie, and for those of you who have short attention spans, this is a long movie, but it was a great movie. But
It's deep.
why? It's deep, right? And so why would that best describe, you know, your life?
So, you know, the movie is about going into other people's dreams
Mm-hmm.
and making a change, right?
Right. Right.
And it's so convoluted and it's so layered,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it's just rich. And so for that reason, I just like it's so like
Yeah.
right.
Yes,
and
I can see that for you because that you are on so many levels and just in who you are, and this really ties back to you. And this is just me talking. You know, your doodles, and the marathons, with everything that you do is on so many levels. So I could see why that
yeah.
movie ties into who you are at your core, really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the idea is inception. What they're always trying to do is they're trying to plant an idea and have that manifest out in reality.
Hmm.
Oh my
Hmm.
God. Isn't that what life is? It's like
Yes.
365 brothers. It's a flash in the thing. And then next thing you know, it's like, I mean, for all I know, I'm in something like Inception and
Yeah.
somebody flash something that I didn't see, but I saw.
Yep.
I think that's life. We get inspired by these little things and we don't know where these seeds of creativity come from
So
and
true.
they blossom. And that is our life.
So
The end.
true. Okay, hey, look, that was perfect. That was a perfect way to close out today's conversation with an amazing woman, Robin Shine. Like I said, listeners, audience, if you have, not even you have, when you make time to go and over to listen to 365 Brothers podcast, especially if you have any men in your life that really want to hear stories from men of color,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the diverse walk that we're on. And I challenge you. I'd be surprised if you don't find something, whether it makes you aha moment or like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it existed. Um, it's just amazing. And so please go ahead and follow and listen to our sister in the work that she's doing. She's doing amazing work. And
And a little
mm,
tip, you could
mm,
put in Damon's name and you can listen to
yeah,
his episode.
yeah, yeah. Look. I had the pleasure, of sitting down, talking with her, and sharing my story. It was a great time. Really, like I said, she's a great person, great individual, and she's just knowledgeable. And I just wanted to be able to return the favor and have her join us here. So I'm so honored and so pleasured and blessed by your presence today. So thank you.
It has
Be,
been an absolute privilege. Thank you
no,
for having
the
me.
honor's mine. Before you go,
Mhm.
please take a few minutes to let our audience know where they can actually go to find you, follow you, your show, your podcast, and anything else that you have going on or coming up here in the future, Robin.
Absolutely. So as I said, season 3 starts Monday, July 5th. Teal Hardiman from Chicago, who does Violence Interrupters. You want to check out his episode. You can find me at 365brothers.com. And you can just click on current season and you will find the most recent episodes. You'll see the season 1 episodes. I'm putting together a separate little tab so that you can go through season 2, simple as well. And on Instagram, I'm at 365 Brothers. Um, 365 Brothers, the podcast on Facebook. Please follow us. And I look forward to hearing and having you hear us. And I always love to hear from guests. And by the way, if you're a brother, I'm not joking here. If you're a brother, people want to hear your story. So go over to 365brothers.com and click on guest opportunity. I'm always looking for brothers who are willing to share their lives with our listeners.
Y'all heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. I suggest any brothers listening, go ahead and do that, man. Follow up. Big kudos to you. Applause for season 3 coming out. Continue success. Yes, exactly. All of that. May you continue to shine like a diamond and continue to rise in all that you do. Thank you, Robin, for being here. You know,
Thank you.
our audience, before we go, want to take a moment to highlight two more sponsors of the Two Mics Up podcast. As you know, we're always about supporting small businesses here. DJ Coco Brown and Bubbles and Bruce Philly. Look, if you're in the Delaware area, check out DJ Coco Brown. She's an experienced DJ, providing both mobile and virtual musical services. She's centered, like I said, out of Delaware, Philly area. She's known for her old school meets new school vibes. Check her out at chanel.brown@gmail.com. She's also been on the Two Mics Up show, so you can check out that episode. As well as, if you got family up in the Philly, Delaware area, like this right here, Bubbles and Brews Philly, they've got a crazy mobile Prosecco and craft beer bar. It's out of this world. It's like no other. Have your families call our people over at Bubbles and Brews Philly at Philly. It's Philly at getcozybars.com. They're phenomenal. They've also been here on Two Mics Up, Shots Up. Check them out. Great episode. Again, I want to let everyone know that also Two Mics Up's got a I'm sorry, the wrong read. I want to let you know that Two Mics Up is going to be at the Virginia Black Business Expo, September 11th and 12th, 2021. We're going to be rocking with our friends over at the Virginia Black Business Directory, who's putting on the second annual expo. It's at the Fredericksburg Expo Center, like I said. For more information, check them out at vablackbusinessdirectory.com. It's going to be 150 vendors, food, entertainment. Two Mics Up. We're going to be there hosting. Come hang out with myself, my amazing co-host, Lisa Middleton, the queen of the show. Sis, we miss you. Catch you next week. And like, we always do at this time, you can follow Two Mics Up online at www.twomicsup.com. You can follow us across all of our social media platforms, IG, Facebook, Twitter. You're watching us today on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit the button. That little thumbs up helps. Tell your mama and them, right? Hit that thumbs up. Tell your mama and them about Two Mics Up. Have them come on over, subscribe. And like we always do, y'all stay safe, stay blessed. Mics out.